Hey everyone, I'm Alta Justice and I will be today's moderator for this session. I want to take this time to welcome you to BB Dev Day's session on building AI agents for your Blackbaud solutions. Before we begin, I want to note a couple of items. Sessions will be made available to view on demand. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will find widgets for docs, chat, messages, and Q&A. If you encounter any audio or technical issues, the quickest way to get it working again is to refresh. Now I would like to welcome our speaker, Griff Bohm, co-founder of Momentum, to the stage. Welcome, Griff.
Thank you so much, Alta. Can everybody hear me and see me okay here? I hope. If not, just let me know. I will go ahead and share my screen here. Always a little bit of a challenge to figure out the button, but I've used Goldcast enough here to have learned a thing or two. Cool. Can everybody see my screen? Hope so. Okay, cool. So building agents in RENXT using the Blackbaud Sky API is what we're here to talk about today. I'm going to kind of take you through. Oh, we got a black screen. Okay, let's see. If we go this way, is that any better? Black screen. Nothing like some AV issues to begin the day here with. Stop sharing. Let's see. I've never had this problem before. If I share a specific tab, will that work any better? Can you see this now? Great. Okay, alrighty. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to. That's a little bit of a bummer. I'm sharing one single tab, and I'm gonna be jumping through a lot of different tabs. But you can let me know if I stop sharing the right thing. I only have a few slides to sort of go through. My background: I'm Griff Bohm. I'm one of the founders of Momentum. We have been working with Blackbaud and Razor's Edge for the last probably 3-4 years now. It's been a really great time, and we've been able to develop a lot of really cool stuff. I'm going to take everybody through our process for how we built our agent in way more in-depth detail than I've ever taken anybody else. So as I go along, please feel free to answer questions or throw questions into the chat and stuff like that. I have it so that I can actually see both. So I'll do my best to address everything as we go through it. Momentum has been working with Blackbaud for a long time. That's the point of this slide. What agents can do, I think, is really an easy way to start here. But the idea is basically that you can integrate a lot of different platforms together, right? I think part of the value of an agent is being able to tie different parts of your workflows together. So beyond just Blackbaud, you can tie in your email, you can tie in your calendar, your text, Slack, anything really. Asana, if you're using that for task management, any of that sort of stuff can all kind of start being pulled together. And that's really sort of the promise of AI. As I see it, I think being able to sort of pull some of this stuff into one sort of coherent system is great. So when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, of course, itself is a very ambiguous term that can be quite difficult to define. Agents are even more mushy. At Momentum, we basically have put together what we call the SITE framework that one of our engineers came up with a while ago, which is sort of the 4 pillars of what any agent needs. So the SITE, C-I-T-E, stands for context, intent, tools, and experience. The 4 things here, basically, just to go into each one in a little bit. Context is, what does the agent know, right? And so if you guys have played with normal ChatGPT or done any prompting of any kind, you'll be familiar with the concept of context in AI. But I think in the context of an agent, a lot of it is actually about like what sort of data and what pipelines you can provide to the agent in close to real time, right? Instead of having to go out and copy and paste like a whole thing to be able to paste it into a chat, you want to have it have the context basically in real time. In this case today, I'm going to take you through how I can use the Sky API and basically open up essentially all of your CRM to that context window. Intent is, what is it trying to do? What does it want? In this case, I'm going to be using ChatGPT for a lot of my demo work today, obviously, or I should say OpenAI We'll be going through their APIs and stuff like that. I'm going to take you through the fine tuning and how you can fine tune models pretty quickly and easily. It's gotten better and better over the last few months. What can it use is tools. This is basically like, can it search the web? Can it search your email? Can it do what does it have at its disposal? And then of course the experience. The fundamental breakthrough of AI, I think, has been this experience, which is our ability to interact with it as a chatbot. And that's sort of been what has broken ChatGPT through into the mainstream. So some prototypes. So I'm going to show you guys. So now I need to sort of be pretty nimble in my screen sharing here. If I go here and click share this tab instead, nice. Okay, that's not that bad. So the first version of a chatbot that we developed, this is Momentum. This is our tool. This is what we make. It's all very deeply integrated with RANXT. We built Mo. It's a very, everybody loves anthropomorphizing their AI assistants. And so we have made Mo, which is basically the first prototype was this assistant that you could ask questions of your database. And as you can see, it didn't really work that well. We got lots and lots of errors. It was really a big challenge for us. And basically what we ended up doing is landing on a system where we would go through and you fine tune the model to give it access in ChatGPT. So if we go to here, actually, sorry, to here. So this is just JSON data that I put into a nice, online pretty site. All I did here is basically take this tab, which is a request that I made to the Sky API asking for a constituent ID. This is obviously demo data, and we made a fake donor or a fake constituent whose name was Mark Cuban. That happens to, of course, be a real person. We name all of the fake data after real people for the ease to be able to search. But all we started with was just one response from the Sky API's constituents endpoint, right? I took this, if you put this here, and then I did a thing that you can do if you're on the paid versions of ChatGPT, which is I asked it to generate a sample file to fine tune a model. Super easy to do this. Literally what I did is just, can you generate a sample file that I can use to fine tune a model, training format, and then I pasted in the docs from the OpenAI website that give it, all sorts of stuff. You'll notice none of the stuff that I had from Mark Cuban specifically, his response is in here. It comes back to me with this sample file that I could use to fine tune. I will do this for, I did use O3 for all of this. You can use, any of the models will be able to do this, but they are now good enough. You then have a sample file that you can download. And when you download this, if you put it into this formatter, I obviously did this in like a text editor, but just so that you could see it a little more pretty here. I can't put my text editor into my Chrome window, so I put this here. It basically puts all this out for you, and you can then just go in and basically replace some of these questions with some of the answers. And so what you're doing here is you're just literally telling the AI, when I'm asked these types of questions, I want these types of responses. So you can just see this example here. The user puts in, what is Mark Cuban's primary email address? And then I manually hard-coded, basically Mark Cuban's primary email address is markcuban@givemomentum.com or mark@givemomentum.com, which I just took from this response here in the Sky API, right? So at the net end of this, you have basically a file that has a little bit of data. And for this, I typically encourage people to just make sort of a fake or a dummy constituent record in RE that you can use to sort of develop all of this with ease. Then basically you have this fine-tuned. And if you come over to this, I'm now in the OpenAI playground. You have all sorts of stuff here. You can come in and you can create a fine-tuning. You just create the fine-tune. I typically there's two methods that you can go into. I am not going to go too deep on this. I typically lean on the supervised method. That's just what I tend to find the easiest. I tend to use the latest models. You just choose any number, and then you put that sample file in here, right? So that's the file that I just basically showed you here. I just saved it to my desktop and put it in here. When you hit create, you will end up with the ability to fine tune something. And I'm going to kind of skip ahead here and show you this. So this is basically once we have a fine tuned version versus the out of the box 4.0 mini version. So if you ask just, 4.0 mini, how would I search for constituents? The output you get is something like searching for constituents can depend on what kind of constituents you're looking for. It's very mundane, maybe is the term to use here. However, when you start using these fine-tuned models, how would I search for constituents? It now has that context of the Sky API, and it knows basically like based on the inputs that I gave it back here, if you're going to search for a preferred mailing address, it can look through that JSON and basically see this is the correct mailing address. And so what you end up with is, use the online constituent list or perform an execute query in the Sky API, blah, 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 right? And the model starts to be able to basically output things that are correct for you in, close to real time. And it can kind of put all of that together. What I was planning to do next, and I'm hoping that this will work, is just share a little video that one of our developers put together demonstrating this, and then I'll show it to you in RE. So I'm going to play this, and if you guys can't hear anything, please just let me know in the chat.
Okay, cool. So we've got this guy, and this is like even faster. So we can say, who were we talking about recently? This is demonstrating persistence between threads. I refresh the page, it still knows what's their net worth. This is demonstrating we're both going to Razor's Edge and the web. So it's got some stuff from Razor's Edge, it's got some stuff from the web, and then it's found an answer to that. So if there was a conflict, like whatever, it said something in, we can add donor search to this. If it found something somewhere and somewhere else, it would do both of them in parallel and then return some sort of aggregate of those. Whatever. So it can be like search, tell me, find everything you can about this guy. So in this one, it's going to go to the LinkedIn, get my details. Then it's going to, having got my name, it's going to search the web. Whatever. Okay, and then the web, it just smushed them together here, but and it didn't find anything.
Cool. So the basic gist here is that we now have sort of our own agent here, and I can show it to you live right now. That will go in and it will be able to do, when we talk back to this tab, it has the context of everything from the CRM, but it has tools like the ability to search the web and all of that. And all of that is buildable basically just within the OpenAI platform. And the real effort, the thing that you need to spend the most time on, it frankly, is collating a really high quality fine-tuning file. Once you have this file basically put together, you can really go ahead and put this all and feed this all into your model. And then you end up with a fine-tuned model here that can basically output all of this. And so if I come back into Razor's Edge now and open this up here, give it a sec, you can see I have Mo. If I click Get Started with Mo, I need to authorize something. I'm sure you guys can't see this, but cool. Now there we go. Great. And so it's now kind of fired up, and I can say, tell me everything you can find about Mark Cuban. It's always incredibly precarious to live type on a webinar, so I hope I'm not offending anybody, but it will now go and you can see basically what it's doing. So we've developed this to sort of tell us everything it can do in real time. And you can see it's going out and getting all of this info about him. And it's layering that in back together with anything that we can find about him sort of in the first party in that Razor's Edge system. Now, what you can do, and this has been a little finicky, so if this doesn't work, please don't kill me, but you can start to do some like high quality querying in here as well. So you could say, can you build me a list of our top donors in NYC? Now, what it will do, and you'll be able to see it here, is it's going to think about it, it's going to ask Razor's Edge, and then convert NYC to a series of zip codes. Once it comes up with all these zip codes, it will come back, and then it's going to take a little bit of time here, and we'll see if this works. But it's going to create a constituent list, right? An actual RENXT constituent list. I got my error. Darn. I was hoping this would work, but it will actually put together a list in NXT, of constituents that it can pull apart, and you can manage all of that from here. We do have the preliminary functionality to be able to actually have it have like a clickable button. I see this question about write access to the reply. You can see it's still kind of running here. We'll see if this works. Oh no, it just restarted. Bummer. And then basically you can basically give it access, and all of the ability to give it the read-write access lies within, scoping the API, right? You need to have proper scopes on your API, but then you need to basically build out a really, really super duper duper high quality training fine-tuning model. Once you have that, you really are kind of off to the races. Then obviously it's nice to have handy software engineers who can build something that looks pretty and sits inside of RE and all of that. But I have seen folks who've built, within the ChatGPT platform, back here, you could build sort of an assistant, and you can give it access to endpoints right from here. And you can have it exist sort of outside of NXT, not in tile form on this tab, but rather just within an assistant over here. Now, I did want to spend a second talking about security, just because when you're talking about sort of like how you're using these APIs and all of this, it's worth sort of mentioning. It's really, really important that you not put sort of like identifiable donor data right directly into ChatGPT itself. However, if you're using the API and you're paying, obviously, if you're using the API, you're paying for it. There is an option where you can opt for an SLA that prevents future training, and it prevents basically, ChatGPT from being able to take your PII and your identifiable data and use it to train future models and stuff like that. Some organizations will accept that, some will not. At Momentum, we go quite a bit further, where we actually build a fully containerized model, and we deploy essentially an entire instance of an AI into each container. So every one of our customers has their own dedicated container that can be wiped and retrained and all of that. That is not likely to be sort of convenient or feasible for a lot of, most organizations out there. Obviously it's our entire business to be able to do this. And so we've gone to some length. But what I will encourage everybody to do is to make sure that you are being very, very careful with what data and particularly what access you give the API. Because once you provide, back in chat, once you provide one of these assistants with access to an endpoint, that has access to your CRM data, your donor data, anything like that, it is very likely that it will have, functionally full access to, the entirety of your donor database. And so I encourage everybody to be very, very cautious here. Talk to your superiors, all of that. The question in the chat is, where can you find out more about Mo? I will just put my email here. You can always email me directly. It is not quite up and live yet in the store, although I do think that it's pretty close. I think that, let's see here, if I go back to this, yeah, it is not quite out, but it should be soon. My final parting thought that I wanted to share is this tab. This is obviously an internal working doc that our engineer put together. And so when we talk about that site model, right, CITE, we're talking a lot about the experience, right? That's really a part of it, is what is the experience. And this is sort of the vision that he's laid out, which is, an agent alone is not enough. An agent needs to be able to generate and display lists, needs to be able to compose things. That's a real core piece of it. And it needs to be able to display things, right? Summaries and reports and all of that. And so I think when you're building these, and I'm happy to answer any questions, about any projects that any of you may have, it's really important that you keep in mind sort of like what is the ultimate experience that we're building towards and what is the functionality that you need to be building in order to be able to support that. I think that that's really one of the key factors in being able to develop sort of agents that are high value is even if you had an agent that can find the correct report for you in your list of reports, that's incredibly valuable. And I think slowly here we're starting to see more and more functionality that's rolling out that lets you kind of expand the scopes of these. But for now, they tend to be, I think, of agents as being sort of still fairly narrow in operation, even as they're able to pull in stuff like the whole of the internet that they can search in real time and stuff like that. Cool. 20 minutes. I did okay. I will pause there for questions. I'm happy to answer anything you guys got. I will put Mo up on the screen just as a sort of placeholder, but if there are questions or anything like that, I'm happy to answer them. Nothing. Cool. Yes, Mo will ultimately be available in the marketplace. I wish that we had it live today. I was pressing the guys to try to do that, but we were unable to do that in time. I would give us probably another couple of weeks before we're ready to rock with that. We want to make sure that we can have the list feature good to go. To answer the question is this going to be implemented in Financial Edge and Education Management? For now, that's not really what we are planning to do. However, once you have this whole sort of infrastructure spun up and developed and everything, the ability to extend it to other endpoints within the Sky API, the sort of broad parent Sky API, they do get increasingly easier. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but that's not something that we're planning on at this point. Cool. Anything else from anybody in the audience? No. Cool. Alrighty. Hopefully that was helpful. I left my email in the chat there. You're all welcome to email me at any time. Thank you to the Blackbaud team for hosting today. Thank you, Alta, for your help. And we will talk soon. Oh, I see one question. Yes, we do support BBCRM. But I think Scott Parrish is actually in this chat. I can see him doing this. We do support BBCRM, but you're going to need to be on, I believe it's Service Pack 34. Scott, if you're out there, please correct me. Whatever the service pack is that that offers the Sky API. Obviously, the Sky API is a requirement here. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.